Welcome to the Books, Beards, Booze podcast, where we talk books, drink booze, and have beards.
All right. As always, I am Bob of TalesbyBob.
And I'm Derek, this week from Carcosa.
Oh, nice. He actually is, because we're recording live in Carcosa. I'm going to start off, first off, need to issue a correction to last week's episode. I made the statement that the only time I'd ever searched for a band on Amazon Music was that New Zealand band that I didn't say the name of because I couldn't remember at the time. But I couldn't find them on there. Well, I talked to brand ambassador Ryan. He heard that episode, and it turns out I'd been spelling the band name wrong.
So you found them?
Yeah, they have two. they have two songs on Amazon Music, and they're on Spotify as well and YouTube and whatnot. But the band's name is Pieces of Molly, and they're really good. Kind of we're not a music place, but it's kind of like a psych rock kind of deal.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyway, so diving right in, this week I'm drinking my usual Heaven and Coke.
I'm drinking something a bit different. And before I tell you what that is, I want to start with my booze news, if that's okay.
Well, let's hold off on the news for a second.
Okay. Well, then I'll tell you what I'm drinking then.
Okay. We said that we were going to go try Railyard beers.
Right.
Railyard Brewery is a local brewery. It's Montgomery's only brewery as far as I know. And they have 7 beers, and we went there. It's located inside of Dreamland Barbecue now. Actually, I think there's a second brewery now, Common Bond Brewery. We need to go check that out.
Okay.
But anyway, so they have 7 beers. I'll just list them real quick. The Goat Switcher IPA, the Y'all Light Lager, the Hefeweizen, the Alabama Pale Ale, the Railbender Irish Style Red, the Hot Box Honey Porter, and the Chocolate Hazelnut Schwartz. And we tried them. My favorite was the Hefeweizen, followed by the Y'all Light Lager.
My favorite actually was the Schwartz, which was kind of funny because before we went there, I didn't know what that was.
Yeah, we had no idea what a Schwartz was.
Very interesting taste. And then
very complex.
The Honey Porter, or whatever it was, that was probably my second favorite. We both went there having only really had much of the Irish Red before.
Yeah.
And,
it was good.
It was okay.
You can go to our YouTube channel, TalesbyBob, and you can watch a video of us trying them all there if you want to know more about that. Anyway, so let's dive in on our news. How about you start us off with your booze news?
Right. So my booze news is there is a company or a brewing. I can't remember if it's a distillery or if it's like a group of distilleries that do it. Because I will be less than prepared because I forgot all my notes at home. But William Grant & Sons is a Scottish brewer or distillery, I guess. I mean, responsible for Glenfiddich.
Okay.
And another one with a B, what I'm blanking on the name on. And also what I'm drinking this week, which is Monkey Shoulder, which I've heard a lot of very good things about for a beginner whiskey for people learning to drink it.
Okay.
So that's what I'm drinking is Monkey Shoulder.
How is it?
Let's find out. Sure smells good, though.
Yeah, it did have a really good scent. Yeah? What's the verdict?
It's...
Can I try?
Yeah, I mean, it's Scotch, and I'm not as much about Scotch as I am about bourbon.
Oh, yeah, that's not for me. I'm not a Scotch guy.
Yeah. But still okay.
Yeah,
anyways,
as Scotches go, it's pretty good.
They're, anyways, but the reason it's relevant, especially to me since I'm more of a bourbon guy, is they're coming out with a bourbon.
Oh, nice.
The bourbon is called, and this is the best part, is the name. The name is Fistful of Bourbon.
I saw a headline about that.
Right, I looked it up.
All it said was like Scotch Whiskey's Gamble or something like that.
Yeah,
Fistful
of Bourbon. They're
well, those are amazing movies.
They're doing a whole thing. They called it. I think the person that wrote the article about it kind of compared it to, instead of it being a spaghetti western, it was a haggis. I forget what exactly
Eastern
what it was.
or something.
Yeah, something like that. But it was
nice.
It was pretty funny. But they're getting into it. But it is going
to be made there or here?
No, it's going to be made. I think it's being made there, but it's coming out in September, and the first place it's coming out is in Texas, and then it will be moving out from there. However, most Americans don't like blended whiskeys because they have a negative connotation, because after World War II, when they mentioned a whole bunch of quote-unquote blended whiskeys that they were using when they had shortages of whiskey, they would just take whiskey and mix it in with quote-unquote neutral spirits, so like vodka and shit like that, and it tasted just god-awful. So since then, people have a bad opinion of blended. But Scotch, people blend Scotch all the goddamn time, and that's actually what they're William Grant and Sons are kind of famous for, and have been since like 1887. So they're like, well, they're getting in on this, and they're going to do blended.
I've had some blended whiskey that wasn't bad, but
and also they unlike the Americans, most American companies, you can get some kind of information on the mash bill.
Yeah, they're not doing that.
No, they're like their whole thing is like, this is not about us and how we do it. It's about what it tastes like.
Yeah.
So but also, since it's interesting because they've even changed the way they do the bottle, because most bottles of bourbon are done in like a classic. The way people they put it in the article was, it would look like a prop from a Clint Eastwood movie.
Okay.
But since that's not what they're doing, they have a similar styled bottle, but the actual label is in like a 1970 cartoon lettering style.
Yeah.
Which is pretty interesting, and they described it as trying to be irreverent and humorous, but still look like it fits in the same department, so that it stands out.
I'll be interested to...
I'm really interested in it.
Give it a run.
I don't know how long until it comes nationwide, but yeah. So.
Neat. My booze news. I didn't realize that this was a thing, but Taco Bell has a thing called a Taco Bell Cantina. And it's a quote-unquote, it features a urban restaurant design, open kitchen, custom menu with shareable appetizers and alcoholic beverages. Yeah, it's a Taco Bell that sells beer, wine, sangria, and what they're calling twisted freezes. So my guess is like an alcoholic slushy.
That sounds amazing, man.
Yeah. So I'm not a Taco Bell fan, for real. Like, I mean, I'll eat there, but it's normally about my last choice when it comes to fast food. But I would definitely pop into one of these. The closest one to us in Alabama is Gainesville, Florida, but they're slowly expanding them. There's about 20 nationwide, with Gainesville being the closest.
Yeah, I knew. I remember when they announced they were coming out with those, but I knew there wasn't going to be one near us, so I was never really concerned about it.
I'm going to be interested to see. Who knows, we may end up getting one. As popular as Taco Bell is in Montgomery, Jesus Christ.
And we just lost one. Maybe when they bring it back, they'll bring back Super Taco Bell.
To sum up Montgomery, I say we, but I was not there for it, but we, as in the inhabitants of Montgomery, held a candlelight vigil because the Taco Bell burned down.
I thought that was just a joke.
No, they had like 90 people there. Like 90 people showed up for a candlelight vigil.
Oh, I thought that was
Taco Bell.
I thought that was a joke. I didn't think that actually
Well, I mean,
happened.
Of course, it's a candlelight vigil for a fast food restaurant. It wasn't like people weren't like wailing in tears. It was funny, but it was still.
Especially the location, because that was right near like the Waffle Houses where people would go in there and drunk.
I mean, it was definitely a after the bar destination. Like if you tried to go there like 3 in the morning, it was right around the block.
I'm well aware, since that's when we get off work.
Yeah,
and I would try and get lunch or dinner.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. You got any beard news?
Yes. So I read an article today. I think it was on Esquire, and it was talking about Edgar Ramirez. I think his name is an actor. I think he's Venezuelan. He's going to be in a show, I think it is, about the assassination of Versace.
Yeah.
And they were saying that his beard is the perfect beard.
Nice.
Because they were like...
I don't know that the perfect beard exists outside of the one on my face, but their argument... Perfect for that role.
Well, their argument... no, they said perfect, because their argument was that it's not too long, not too short, not too thick, not too thin. There's no lines. It's natural, so it has less upkeep.
I'm gonna be frank with you. That sounds like and
it's a quote unquote rounded style, which I feel like if we're talking about beards, I should know what that means, but I don't. A rounded beard for a squared jaw.
Yeah. I mean, that's all right.
Yeah,
it's a good beard. I feel like, the expectation of the perfect beard, though, is just Big Razor trying to divide the beard community.
Probably. I mean,
this is
divide and conquer.
Divide and conquer. Yeah. So I'd be careful of talk like that. But yeah, that is a pretty good beard.
Here's another picture of him.
Yeah, that's a good.
It's
beard.
A real nice beard.
Yeah. I if it was me, I'd have neatened up the top a little bit. But it is what it is.
It makes you look more rugged when you don't.
True. I like a
manscaped face.
Kind of like I like the top. I like clearly delineated tops on beards. All right. Well, my beard news is just small. Stephen Amell, who plays the Green Arrow, has said that he's finally trying to grow his facial hair to match the look of the Green Arrow from the comic books, which, if you haven't seen it, is very iconic. It's very pointed beard with like handlebar-y style mustache. Apparently, he's been working on it for like 5 months, according to Twitter.
It looks pretty solid too. I've seen it. Yeah.
He said it's taking a lot of work. So, fingers crossed that we see that in all its glory here soon.
Speaking of him, complete side note, I was on Twitter this morning and he put up a conversation between him and his wife that involved them having an argument in which his argument was basically him quoting Dr. Seuss at her, and she finally caught on.
Nice.
And was like, did you just quote Dr. Seuss at me? And he was like, yes, I did.
Nice. You got any book news?
I do. This is the one that I'm least prepared on because I lost all my notes, but there is some kind of I don't know if I can't remember if it's a festival or if it's a con or something in Boston coming up soon. And the MIT Press is holding a competition where they're having the article was like Shark Tank meets pitch meeting, basically. So they've picked 6 people that are pitching nonfiction science or technology books.
Yeah,
and they're coming in front of a live audience giving a pitch, and then people are judging which ones they think was the most interesting idea, and the winner gets $1,000, and I forget how long, but basically they get to work with one of the MIT Press's publishers.
Okay.
And they're going to walk them through creating a full pitch to a publisher.
Nice.
To be prepared for how to, like, a production and stuff like that. And then also giving them all the ins and outs of publishing and, like, who they should contact and how they should go about it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I like that. My book news is, so they did a study, who was it? It was the PwC, and I can't remember what that acronym stands for. Anyway, but books are expected to be the only physical media market that will grow. Between 2018 and 2022, sales of physical video games, home video, and music are expected to decline each year, in some instances by double-digit percentages. By contrast, sales of physical books are expected to grow modestly by about 1% annually every year. So they're saying that, right in 2022, we will spend $50.3 billion on books in either physical or audio form, compared to $47.8 billion in 2017. And I think a large part of what's driving this, and they kind of say that, but I can say this from personal experience, audiobook sales is really driving that. U.S. audiobook sales rose 29.5% last year.
And that was all just me.
Pretty much. It increased from $265 million to $343 million
that was all
in
me.
2016.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of two things. One is audiobooks. Like, I can just know from just pure anecdotal evidence, audiobooks are getting more and more popular. Like, I know more and more people who listen to audiobooks. Mm-hmm. And I think that is more or less, you can lay that at the feet of Audible. Like, Audible has made it so easy It's still a little pricey, but it's made it easy.
If you use it a lot, though, it's not really pricey.
Yeah,
because
if you do if you do the deal I did, like it cost me $50. It cost me $100, but I got a $50 dot that I was already going to buy anyway to go with it, and I got 12 books. And if you got the average cost of those books is $25.
Yeah, my whole thing is I pay for the membership monthly, and that reduces the cost of anything I buy. Plus, I get a free credit every month. I mean, that's basically the price of a book anyways, just to get that credit. And then I get a pretty hefty discount on anything else I buy any other time. Yeah, it's definitely worth it especially for me, because there for a while I was going through a book a week because very few of those books are 40 hours.
Yeah.
And that's how long I work a week, and I have pretty much that much time to listen to audiobooks. Right. So.
And they were saying another reason, like everyone was worried about how ebooks, thought the ebooks would kill print industry for a while. Part of the reason that that's not happening, and this is something much to my chagrin, is on the vast majority of books, it's not any cheaper to buy the ebook, which is bullshit. Mm-hmm. If I'm not getting a physical product, I have literally seen on Amazon where it is like 30 cents more expensive. Like it'll be $9.99 for the ebook and $9.70 for me to get a paperback sent to my house.
Yeah, but you gotta wait. They're prioritizing you don't have to wait for this.
But I don't. But I'm not actually. Their cost is so much less. Like they're not having to pay to ship or bind, and that drives me up the wall.
Well, that's how they make their money. I mean, they're charging for convenience, and whether or not it's just, do you want to pay for that, or are you willing to wait?
And what's happening, though, is I'm not paying for that.
No, I'm not paying for that. I'd rather have the physical copy anyway.
Well, I know what's happening is I'm not buying either.
Yeah.
I am buying...
audiobooks.
Well, no. I am getting... But I have not really bought many... The only time I've bought audiobooks... When you
bought those credits.
That's the sale.
Yeah.
And I've just been using my free credits that I got. Anyway, but no, it's... I just look around. I've cruised, the fantasy subreddit and see what books are on sale.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. Anyway, they're also talking about that they're starting to get some all-you-can-get models for ebooks. The top two being Scribd, which is $9 a month, and Amazon Kindle Unlimited, which is $10 a month. I don't know fuck all about Scribd.
Me either.
Or Scribd, however you say it. But I do know Amazon Kindle Unlimited, which I have and I like.
Could it be Scribd?
There's no E, so it's like Scribd. Scribed. I don't know how you say it.
Yeah.
Anyway, but they're saying like that's heading in the direction of like a Netflix or a Spotify, but the main reason it isn't is because titles from the big 5 publishers are not offered on either of those.
Yeah.
And I really think long term we will see eventually the big 5 offering a service like that. I don't know what it'll cost. I don't know how effective it will be, but I really think that eventually they're going to head in that direction.
Well, hopefully.
So, we'll see. Last bit of news. This hits close to home. Books, Beards, Booze. We will have a booth at Gump City Con in Montgomery, October 20th and 21st. That's Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, you can come by and see both of us. Sunday, I'm taking off work, but Derek has to work. So, you can see me then. And I think it'll probably be Superfan Tanya helping hold down the booth. You can come out and meet us. We'll try and have some free swag to give out just to people who stop by and talk to us. But please, just come out, give us a hello. Let us know what you think.
Save me from having to talk to Bob the whole time.
Yeah, because that's a fate worse than death. Yeah, you got anything else?
Not news wise. I think I had another news story, but again, I lost my notes.
No worries. All right, well let's cue up that harmonica. All right, and we're back. We had to take a quick time out, A, for y'all to hear that harmonica, and B, because Fight Club is going on in my backyard between some birds.
There was some birds straight up brawling outside. I was super distracted.
Yeah.
I'd never seen birds fight like that. I've seen them like fly at each other and stuff like that in the air, but they were jumping off the ground and like pawing at each other in midair. It was amazing.
Yeah. So right now we have a squirrel chilling back there.
I feel like the squirrel's breaking it up.
Yeah,
like, you got to calm down.
He's referee. Anyway, so as we said, this week is a short read tall glass week. And we've already talked about what we sampled on the tall glass end of things. And now let's talk about the short story. This week it was The Stone Weta by Dr. Octavia Cade. And how I came to choose this story is basically in the 2-week break that we took, our longtime friend Ryan, who moved to New Zealand on us and abandoned us because he's a bastard, became a big fan of the podcast. Like, he binged all of it like nonstop. Like, he just downloaded it all and just listened to it nonstop. Became a big fan, and that's why he's now our brand ambassador. He told a coworker of his about it, so that's what it takes to become a brand ambassador.
It was a
steep curve. Anyway, and so in honor of that, I told him I would. Well, actually, I asked him. I was like, "Well, you're the brand ambassador. Find me a short story from New Zealand," and he spent about 30 minutes later, I think he messaged me back and was like, "It ain't none." And and I was like, "Nah, there's no way." And so I looked around, and he was almost right. Like, there are definitely people writing short stories down there, but I don't know where to look to find them, because again, it's got to be free to find online. And so, like, I was finding lists of New Zealand authors.
Then you couldn't find anything.
And like, I'd like go to their websites, and they didn't have anything there, and just yada yada yada. Well, anyway, I went to Clark's World, which is a great magazine. Everyone should check it out. And you can actually, that's another podcast. You can listen to their stories in podcast form, and they're great. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I saw they had a listen button. I almost tried that, but
every one of their stories, they have someone read them. Pretty much, it's great. Yeah, no, and they're great. Anyway, so I just went into their search feature and punched in New Zealand, and eventually found this story.
But is the person from New Zealand? Because I know they mentioned New Zealand.
No. She is from New Zealand.
Okay.
She is a doctor. I think she's a professor. I can't remember now. But this story won an award, some New Zealand award. I can't remember which one. I didn't write it down. But it's an award-winning New Zealand story. That said, I like the story, but wow, did I catch... I caught some flack over this selection.
Didn't to catch more.
That's fair.
I'm not kidding. You're not going to get flack, but I did not.
Southern correspondent Shay did not like it.
No.
We had like a 2-hour argument about this. I liked it. He did not, and I'm assuming you were not a fan.
I was not. I think the way I actually talked to our Southern correspondent before coming up here as well, to see, because after I read it, I wanted to see if, like, what the conversation with you and him had been like.
Yeah.
And
it was mostly just a bunch of me being right.
That doesn't sound like you. But no, basically the way I came down to it is I didn't like it because a lot of different things, but my general consensus was this seems like a really interesting prologue to a Tom Clancy novel. Because okay. Like the way I was looking at it was like I was kind of into it, like I was hanging in there and I was interested enough, but then nothing happened, and I was like, if this was like the prologue and then it cut back and it was like for the everything they was talking about like having all kinds of climate information and keeping all this data and stuff like that, if they had like cut back and like had one of the the government people that were looking for them, like if there'd been a whole book about like them trying to find all these different people, because they purposely didn't say their names,
right.
So like if that was a prologue and it gave you some information about them and then you spent the whole book meeting people trying to figure out if they were agents and stuff like that, that would have been a really cool story. But like without anything, I thought that there was just very little to it. Like the discussion of like the life forms or some of them were, I think some of them were plants, some of them were animals. Or they're all technically alive.
They're all things that were alive. Like the Stone Weta is a insect. Yeah, but there's like a lichen, a sponge.
Yeah.
There's a fish-eating spider. The Gimpy Gimpy, the Resurrection Plant,
Yeah.
and I'm forgetting.
But
yeah,
like,
they were all living things.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, and then I was like, okay, you tell me that,
The Sand Cat.
And then you tell me and then it shows like the person with that name, and there's some parallels in there, and I thought that was interesting, but then
I liked this story a lot, and it took me 2 reads to get to that point, and here's why. And it is my only real complaint with this story, is the science part of it is so fascinating. All these different creatures, just here's a blurb about this creature that you've never fucking heard of before, because I had heard of none of these things before.
I heard of one of them. But that was it.
I think I've seen the name Gimpy Gimpy, but I could not have told you what a Gimpy Gimpy was.
Yeah.
And I mean, sand cat. Bless me. A sand cat. I mean, I know the words sand and cat.
But that's it.
Yeah. But anyway, so those parts were so interesting, and it, to a degree, every time you would hit one of those, it took me out of the story a bit, and it would take me a little bit to get back into the story every time. And on the second read, I didn't have that problem anymore. Like, it all flowed better, but it's like, I'm a big science guy. Like, and I don't know if this would necessarily be a problem for everyone, but it's a problem for me. Like, I was getting so lost in the science.
Yeah, it didn't take me out of it. I just kind of took it, you know how a lot of books have, like, those, italics little parts before the actual chapter starts. I just kind of looked at it like that, and I was like, oh, here's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
And then right into...
Well, yeah, that's definitely how it was.
So it just kind of, it worked for me. I just kind of went through it pretty simply.
But there was a lot of subtlety to this story. Like, this is very much not an in-your-face story. And it was the subtlety that I really liked about it. To me, my favorite passage of the whole thing was when the Sand Cat is talking to... I can't remember what it was called, but the one that's in Madagascar. Mm-hmm. And they're having this conversation, and like at the face of it, they're just talking about, oh, well, you're so busy, I'm sorry to keep swamping you with all this work. How about I just stop for a little bit?
Yeah.
But really, they're talking about...
Someone's looking into...
Oh, hey, no, these government entities are watching me. You need to back off. And, like, to me, the whole story is kind of like that. There's so much double speak. And, like, when she's talking to the head of the... head of her department, and they're having a conversation where he's like, look, I know what you're doing. I want it to keep going in this department. You're leaving, but I want to keep this going. So let's do that. I've got your back, kind of deal. And like just all these subtle parts, I really like that. Like this is not an in-your-face action-packed story. It's a spy story. It's nothing but double speak and assumed identities. And I just really enjoy that. Like that's something that as a reader, I love that.
Well, I like that
stuff
really well. And I thought it did it okay, but then nothing happened. Like there was no. Well, I don't mean like combat or any kind of like.
Well, I think though, like, and I don't know what Dr. Cade had going on here. I don't. I've not seen what she has said about this story, but to me, like what this story is about is like the survival of knowledge and how important that is. Like how it kind of trumps all, and I think the message, like part of the message she's imparting is like, hey, it's blatantly obvious to me that the instigating or the impetus behind the story was like the U.S. is like how the government is actively deleting climate data, like how Trump has ordered the different varying departments to like, hey, no, take these articles down, delete this data, stuff like that. Like it's these orders have gone out. Like that seems to me to be what started, probably what got this in her head. And I think it's it's almost to the point where like this story is making the point of like it's almost too late. Like the only thing that's going to save us is, Earth's awash. Like it's Mars. Like let's get this data onto Mars so at least they can go there and not make the same mistakes we have, kind of deal. And I think that is it was such a powerful message. Like it in place of some sort of action at the end, some sort of like action type climax. Like this isn't that kind of story that she was in. Like she was making a statement in a different way.
Well, I liked it. That's cool, but like my point isn't that there needed to be there was no like the entire story was what their code name is, a little bit of scientific fact about a thing, and then a conversation between two people, which is fine, except nothing ever, like they would exchange information and that was it. That was all there was to it. And then they would exchange information and then that was it. And then someone left the world. I mean, there was no, like, I understand what was happening the entire time. I was not confused. I caught the intricacies of everything, but it was like, there's no real conclusion. There's no real conflict. There's no real character growth. There's no...
I think the conflict all happens in the background. Like when they talk about like bristlecone pine being gotten, how the glass sponge is talking about like, well, they're asking like, why don't you just say that? Oh, send us data here, and it's like, well, no, because I mean, maybe our government will back us, but maybe they won't. You know.
Yeah, but even that's all of any kind of potential conflict is happening off screen, and I don't. Again, it's not about action, but there's no friction. There's no friction anywhere in any of the conversations because all the people agree with each other when they're talking, and there's, I mean,
there's friction in the final conversation with fish eating spider. I think that's what it was.
They kind of agreed.
But there's friction in.
There's friction in that she was like, you might want to be careful. That was pretty much it. But they're still of the same mind. They agree with everything, and like there wasn't anything to it. Like again, I found like if this was a part of a whole, I thought it could have been something that was interesting, but honestly, it felt like it cut off halfway through the story. Like I thought that there was going to be more. Like I got pissed off when I got to the end of the story because I was like, I printed off everything at work and the printer's been acting up at work. So I was like, did it not print everything?
Uh-huh.
Because I thought it was I just missed half the story or something like that. Because I was like, well, they've done a good job of like showing me these different operatives and showing me like what they're kind of doing, but then I don't get anything.
I think it's because I think you got the only closure you can get in a story like this. Like, unless one of them is going to suddenly solve global warming or climate change. Yeah, I mean,
I'm not talking about conclusion. I'm just talking about any kind. Like there was.
I mean, the main thread of the story leaves the planet to go start anew. I mean, that's about as much of it. Unless you're going to have a story about her on Mars, like that's the logical end of the story for me. I mean, it could have ended with her getting caught or Sandcat getting caught, so she quits doing it or something like that. Yeah, but to get the message I think she's trying to tell, that this was the logical end to it. I think.
Okay, I strongly. We're just going to disagree. Like, you liked it, and I thought it was really bad. I didn't like it at all. I liked what could have come from it, but I thought it was lacking in pretty much everything. I mean, there was no... The only thing I liked about it was the fact that they kept giving those science points. I thought that was really cool, and I liked that everyone kind of had... It's like they had a secret identity, and that each of their names kind of played into how they were acting-ish.
Yeah. Like
their personality, maybe, or... I couldn't tell if it was more... Some of it was their personality, some of it seemed like what they actually studied, kind of seemed like. Yeah. I don't know if that was exactly right.
I don't think anyone ever chose anything for the same reason. But like the starfish one that's very invasive, like that, her method of spreading was information matched.
So that. I thought, see, that would have been...
But then, like the Stone Weta, she studies that, and she studied the Stone Weta. I mean, I think they all, to a degree, pretty much studied what they named themselves after, but they chose something that fit.
Yeah, so. I don't know. I didn't like it because like at any point they keep talking about like these government officials and stuff like that. It was like, then show me a conversation between you and a government official. Like, just because, I mean, it doesn't even have to be overt, because I liked the subtlety of the conversations too. But you could have had a thing where like the government officials knows that they're doing something, but they can't prove it, so they're not moving on them yet.
Uh-huh.
That would have made there was no tension in the story anywhere.
I think that's just going to be a taste disagreement, because to me, I felt tension. Like there were no direct conversations with government officials, but there were clearly conversations with government officials happening direct, like oh hey, the dean saying, hey, they came and talked to me about smuggling, like, and I told them, well, no, of course not in our department.
Well, they sent them an email, but
yeah, but it's like they and then like when the woman in Madagascar is like, well, hey, they're sniffing around, like it was a in the background kind of, like coupled with the mentions like people are getting caught up, like, oh well, we've never heard from Bristol Cone Pine again, like it was a subtle kind of, like everything about the story is just so subtle to me. That's what
that's fine. The subtlety was good in the conversation, but I don't think you can argue that there was a subtlety in the fact that there was no emotion. Like, the characters, even when they knew this was happening, no one was scared. No one was upset.
Sandcat was scared. I mean, like it talks about like Sandcat like froze and like she felt the fear of like claws closing in around her.
That wasn't Sandcat.
Yeah, that's because Sandcat was talking to the girl from Madagascar. When she's talking to the girl from Sandcat is talking to the woman from Madagascar.
But it wasn't her that felt it. It was the girl from Madagascar that felt it, because it was the one that
Sandcat is talking to her over a video screen, and how that section ends is Sandcat saying like she closes the screen and she felt the terror of claws closing in, or the fear of claws closing in.
Yeah, but okay.
So I mean. And I mean, the Stone Weta, makes several references to well, shit, like I don't want, like, there's the risk of what happened to me happened to what happened to Bristle Cone Pine happening to me. Like, I mean, it's fair. I mean, you don't like it, that's fine. That's fine. I liked it, and to me, it's almost like if there had been like a bigger kind of confrontation, it almost would have felt off key for this story. Like everything blends smoothly together, and that, at least that was my opinion. So
okay.
Anything else you want to say?
Nope.
Got a favorite line?
Nope.
My favorite line is, "I've felt a chrysalis for so long," said the Stone Weta. "Transformation comes easily to me." I just really like that line. I thought it was an interesting choice that all the characters are female, except for the dean and I think it was Antarctic Lichen. I think Antarctic Lichen, the one that's on the ISS. I just assumed maybe. I think he's a guy. I can't remember, but it was like everyone is either a woman or a trans woman, and I thought that was an interesting choice. And there was a bit there where I wasn't really sure what Dr. Cade was trying to say, like with this. There's it talks about the Stone Weta and the glass sponge, that they flatted together years ago in college, and that glass sponge recruited Stone Weta. Well, Stone Weta at the start of the story is just finished transitioning. So, and then Glass Sponge, makes some borderline kind of like inappropriate, flirty kind of statements, like show us your tits party kind of deal. And like it felt like there was like some subtle tension there. Like I wonder, is the Glass Sponge, was she a lesbian? And like, is there like some romantic tension there now, kind of deal? But the story was too short; didn't go into that.
Yeah.
But that was my other critique. Like that passage hints at something, but not clearly enough. And for me to know what was really going on, like what was your reason? I didn't understand why she put that part in. Like, and that was something that Southern correspondent Shay said that how vulgar it was kind of jarring. And I can see that.
I thought so too.
Yeah, that little, basically that all of that section up until that part makes sense. It's fine, and then after, like, it just kind of like
you remember how Cat Skin, I complained that like it was just doing a thing, and then all of a sudden it was just like super
weird.
No, it wasn't even that. It was like
It was.
But all of a sudden it went into like some really sexual content, and then just breezed right past it. And I was like, "The fuck was that?"
Yeah,
that's kind of how it made me feel. I was like, "Where did that come from?" And then why are we not there now? What is happening right now?
Yeah, that part. Because again, like I think the strength of this story is subtlety, and that part was simultaneously subtle in that like you don't really know quite what's going on, but very blunt and in your face, and it's tonally jarring.
I think that the subtlety would be very good in a
longer piece
novella, because then you have I like subtlety when it's subtle for the sake of letting me figure things out itself.
Yeah.
But if you don't give me a long enough story to be able to piece together more than one or two clues, then it doesn't feel like, even if I think that's what they're saying, I don't have enough subtle clues to be able to go for sure that's what they're saying. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. But again, if it had been like a prologue to like a space
spy novel,
I thought it would have been a great.
I will say, now that we've kind of wrapped this up a bit, part of it could be just cultural. Like, I really liked it. You didn't. Southern Correspondent Shay really didn't. Ryan liked it, but felt like he said he liked it, but he's like, I feel like I was missing something. I feel like I didn't get something. That he's going to sit and think on it for a while. Anyway, part of that could be just cultural. Like, I mean, this is a New Zealand author writing, and I realize that New Zealand and America are, they share a common cultural origin, but there's difference there, and this is an award-winning story in New Zealand, so maybe that speaks to the fact that culturally, like, this is an award-winning story, but here, most Americans don't like it, and maybe that's because this fits more in New Zealand-style writing. Maybe this is more typical of writing in New Zealand. Who knows? But that said, that makes me think, like, going forward, I don't know what the next story is going to be.
I feel like we need to try another New Zealand author.
Well, you find it.
That's what I was going to say. Is, we might have to wait until maybe we can find one that has one in an anthology for when we do season 3.
But going forward, it won't be next week. Next week, I'm going to pick something a little more conventional. I don't know what yet.
You mean next?
Or next short read tall glass, which will be in 2 weeks. I'm going to pick something a slightly more conventional. Tempted to do a Lovecraft. Tempted, but probably not. Probably going to pick something fresh and unheard. By us. Maybe Harlan Ellison. That could be good. Anyway, we'll think on it. But going forward, I do want to start making a point of trying to find some stories from around the world, from like different cultural backgrounds and whatnot, and just giving them a try, kind of deal. Like broadening our horizons, like maybe like trying to find a story about that guy, like from last season, about the news about the tree, the forest of books that they're turning, like that. Maybe find a story by each of those authors.
I look forward to being able to complain about every single time me going, but I don't know how the translation was, so I don't know if I can like the words enough. That's always been my problem with Russian literature. Is I read it and I think I like it, but then I'm like, did they mean these exact words, or did something get lost in translation, or did?
Well, you need to start paying attention to. They do awards for translations.
Yeah, but
so pay attention to that, and the people who win awards for translations find other stuff that they've translated.
But even then, I'm still left with the not that they translated it wrong, but that part of what I like about it might be the translator's work and not the writer's intention. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to. It's a thing I've constantly had problems with, because I like a lot of the Russian stuff that I've read, but I always get concerned that part of what I'm liking is maybe lessened.
Good translators don't just translate
but,
in a vacuum. They work with the author. So
but a lot of these authors are dead. The ones I'm talking about.
True, but yeah, I mean,
I've heard about the stories of like Rothfuss and Sanderson having like forums where they're talking about talking to their translators for different languages.
Like I read The Grey House, and it's translated from.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons I didn't want to read it. Is because I was like,
Now, by all accounts, it's one of the most amazing translation jobs, and you can have conversations with the translator. Like, if that's your reason for not reading it, you're fucking up, son. Because at the end of the day, really and truly, at the end of the day, what does it matter? If it's a great story and you really enjoyed it, does it necessarily matter?
Well, that's just it plays into a lot of my taste is that I like the way the words themselves are.
But that's my point is, like, if you read the book and you enjoy it and you love it, does it really matter that it was because of the author or because of the translator?
It matters to me.
It's a team effort.
It matters to me.
Huh. Okay.
I mean,
all right. That's all right. No worries. All right. Wrapping up. We've run long. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. As always, please send us an email at booksbeardsbooze@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Love to hear what you think about this episode. If you liked it, I really want to hear if you like the story. I feel like I'm the only person in the world that likes this story. I think Dr. Cade probably likes this story, but she'll probably shoot me an email and say, "No, I fucking hate this story." But
I was drunk.
But no, like we would love to hear from y'all. Please come see us at Gump City Con October 20th and 21st. And you can also message us anything TalesbyBob. Instagram, Facebook, website, Tumblr, you name it. We're on there. Signing off, I would challenge you as you take on the week to go forth and grow a great beard.